I don't know why I can't see the record button. Well, let me look for that. Where's the record button? Oh, recording. Oh, wait, it's been disabled while live. How come? Shara, I don't understand why. This is weird.
Sarah, do it.
You can start. I mean, okay, let's give a minute or two for guys to join in. Oh, she said she will. Okay. Maybe it's not on my side. Okay. So yeah, I think I will leave stage.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Is there a way you can actually see like if the participants have joined already?
Oh, I can see them.
Oh, okay. I can't see anyone. So have people joined like enough?
A few people. Just one person now.
All right. For those guys who have just joined, if you weren't able to catch the prerequisites or you're still stuck on the prerequisites, I've just left a small PDF where you're able to like see how to install all the prerequisites and be able to continue with the masterclass. So this time we're not really gonna take a lot of time just going through the prerequisites, but we're just gonna go straight into the exploitation of things. So
Evening, everyone. Who's on there?
yeah, so from what we left off, we were talking about the top 10 threats that we'll be looking at today. So for this demonstration, we're actually gonna still be using VAPI to demonstrate the top 10 vulnerabilities within API systems. So yeah, if you are still stuck on the prerequisites, have a look at what I just shared. It will show you it's quite comprehensive. It will just show you how to install Docker, Postman, VAPT, and just setting up your environment. So I'm gonna quickly like set up the environment just so that we can continue from there. So yeah, all you really need to do is go to GitHub, copy this URL, go back to your terminal. For me, in this case, okay, I'll be using a small folder called demo, and this is where we're gonna be doing all our environment setup, our vulnerable API system setup. So git clone. Okay, shouldn't take long. Okay. So yeah, it's just downloading quickly. All right, so while this is still cloning, okay, I think it's even done. So while this is still cloning, you wanna install, you wanna have Postman also set up. So Postman should look something like this, and this is what we're actually going to be using mainly here. So once you're done installing from the GitHub vAPI, you've cloned the repository. You just want to enter that same repository and then type in the command, just like the same thing I sent on the chat. You're gonna type in basically this command, sudo compose up. You should see something similar to this. So sudo compose up, like on the terminal. So for me, it's actually a space, but for most, if you're using Kali, it should probably be like a dash. But for me, no dash is a space in between. So we launch this up. You can see it's recreated since I had it earlier on, and yeah. So to confirm whether or not your environment, your vulnerable API environment has been set up, just go on your browser, go to localhost, port 80, and then you're gonna search vAPI slash. Okay, you should be taken to this site. So yeah, let me just share this in the chat. Yeah. So once you're there, you should see something similar to this. If you haven't, then it means like your Docker is still installing or setting up the vulnerable application. So yeah, that is the first environment we're gonna set up. So the second environment we're gonna set up is Postman. Okay. So I already have this set up. So let me just delete this quickly so that we can all be on the same page. Okay, delete. Okay. So it's still loading. Cool. It is done. So back on the GitHub repository here. Within this, there's you'll see like setting up a Postman. Use public workspace. Okay, you want to click this link, and you'll be taken to the Postman site for vAPI. This will just basically allow you to quickly have an idea of the different endpoints within the vulnerable API system. So here, you're just gonna click the three dots, and you're gonna click export, and then you're gonna click collection version 2.1, then export this. So it will show up, and it will be a JSON file. You wanna save this JSON file. Okay, we have this JSON file. So back into Postman, you basically just want to come here. Okay, so I have this already set up. Yeah, but you wanna come here, you're gonna click file, and you're gonna click import. So you're gonna import this, click on files, and we're gonna just click on vAPI. Yeah, so you can see. And then if you go through the collection, or you can be able to see create user, get user, update user. This will come very in handy. This will come like a lot, come in handy when we start with the demo. So that is set up. So this is the second environment. So the next thing we actually want to do is for any request made through Postman, we want to be able to see it in our barb suite. So I already have here some data. So back in Postman, you just want to click File, Settings, go to Proxy, and then click the proxy type. You want to click both HTTP and HTTPS. Then, of course, you're going to use a custom proxy configuration. For me, my barb suite has been configured to port 9797, so I'll be setting it to 9797. Cool. So now every time we make like a request, like let's say to create a user, and then over here we're just gonna leave it blank. We just want to see whether we're able to see this onto barb suite. So we're gonna send this request. Okay, duplicate key because it's just blank. So in barb suite we're able to actually see the Oh, Michael, your audio. Okay. Uh, Michael, we can't hear you. Okay, I just seen. Oh my God, can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? I'm so sorry. I've just seen the text.
Oh, now we can hear you.
So
Oh,
starting
okay,
with
okay. So sorry for that. Oh, all right. I don't know. When was, at what point did the audio cut off? Okay, lost audio 810. Okay, okay. Okay, okay. Yeah, audio is back. Okay. All right. So I'm just gonna say the last things I just said for the last 2 minutes. Hopefully, I didn't do too much. Yeah. So basically, I was just talking about setting up when you open Foxy Proxy. All right. Yes. So within Foxy Proxy, yeah, you basically just want to create your proxy for Bubsit. And for this case, I made a small proxy called masterbub using my host name, which is my local IP address. The port's 9797, because that is what I'm using for Bubsit. If you go to proxy setting, so yeah, back in Bubsit here, if you go to proxy settings and you can see the interface 127.0.0.1 with a port of 9797. You can always change this to something else, of course. Like for instance, you want to bind a port like 8080, 2424, all yeah, just any port. What I would recommend is do not bind to a port that is usually reserved for other services. For instance, if you're running like an Apache server, like for whatever reason you're running Apache on your um on your machine, then the ports 8080 like will be reserved. For instance, if I do like if I create a small HTTP server using port 8080, and I come here and I want to bind the port 8080, and I press OK. You can see here it fails to start the proxy service on 8080 because it's being used by another service. So you always want to watch out, and basically just want to watch out and basically always have a port that's not reserved for anything or not commonly used for anything. It just saves you a lot of trouble, especially let's say when you're doing a pen test and you need to open a web server or an SMB server. You basically just want to have Barbsuit with a unique port. So yeah. By the way, guys, if I'm going too fast, please let me know. So yeah. So that's it with setting up Foxy Proxy. So this is done. This is what done with our setting up our environment for our Firefox browser. Um, Postman is set up and Bobsuit is set up. And we have our Postman, any requests being sent from Postman is sent over to Bobsuit. So cool. Next is actually the good stuff. Attacking the top 10 vulnerable API security risks. So we're going to start with broken object level authorization. So how this vulnerability actually works is it's something called it's more of an it's something called an IDOR attack, an insecure direct object reference. So in the sense that whenever okay, let me first let's create first a user to better explain this vulnerability. We're gonna create a small user. We're gonna call this uh, Jam. Let's call this Jam. Username Jam. Jambo is the name. Course we're just gonna do API set. Okay, password 1 2 3 4 5 6. I'm gonna create that user, and we have yeah, username Jam with an ID. The object reference in this case will be 34. So how this vulnerability basically works is if the identifier can be predicted or replaced by an attacker, then you can be able to identify other users. For instance, if we're going to hit on the get user request, so the get user basically just picks the path parameter for API ID, which is the ID for, let's say, your user, and then just takes the authorization token and the content type. Okay. Let's say we're authorized as Jam, which has the ID 34. as we created here. So we know Jam, authorized as Jam, and he has the ID 34. If you come here and then we try request for Jam, who has the unique identifier 34, send it over, then we're able to get the information of Jam. So now what if we change, instead of 34, we go with 30? Okay, that is not our identifier, but that's another user's identifier, maybe. And if we're able to still send the request, we're still able to see we're able to get another user's information using my same authorization, using the authorization token of Jam, but we're still able to find information about other users. So let's say we go for the first ever created user, which we can probably get it to be like 1. Okay. And yeah, that is our first flag. We can see here API 1, we see the username Michaels, and we're able to see this user's information. So think about it in the sense that, let's say this was the M-Pesa's API system, and just by guessing any user's identifier, then you're able to access the information, the account balance. You can see how insecure this would be for anyone. Okay, let me just see. Kindly repeat from Postman. All right. So yeah, that's basically how broken object level authorization works. Users are basically able to access other users' data just by using an identifier. So yeah, okay, so Postman, setting up Postman. So yeah, setting up your Postman environment is very simple. You just want to go click on File, go to Settings, then go to Proxy. Okay, once you're in Proxy, you're able to see Use Custom Proxy Configuration. You wanna tick that. Then within the proxy server, you see 127.0.0.1, and using the same proxy port that you use to set up your Barb suite. In my case, if I go to proxy setting, it's 9797. So, and then everything will be routed from Postman to Barb suite. So yeah, and yeah, that's how to set up the environment. In terms of this collection, if you want to get the collection, then you basically just go back to the GitHub repository for VAPI by Roots task, and you want to scroll down till you're seeing setting up Postman. Click on the public workspace. You'll be taken to this workspace, and where you see VAPI on the left side, just click on the three dots there, and then click export. It will ask you collection version 2.1 or version 2. Just go with 2.1. Export this. You'll see a JSON file, and you save it. So once you've saved that, you just want to go back to Postman and then import, then click on files. From files, you can now import the JSON file. If I went too fast, feel free to pick on this PDF. It just shows you exactly how to set it up in a very easy manner. So please have a look at the small PDF file. It should guide you to setting up Postman. Okay. So the next vulnerability we're going to be looking at is broken authentication. Okay, so this is basically like so APIs don't usually like implement user authentication properly, or like let's say they do like a one-time password and then they send it, but it also shows up in the response. Certain things can easily be exploited. So in this case, what we're going to be demonstrating today is broken authentication, where we're going to try use a brute force attack, and we're going to try several emails, several passwords to, let's say, get a valid user. Now, this will only be possible if, let's say, the developer does not implement, let's say, things like rate limiting or like reCAPTCHA files where you're able to see whether it's actually a human entering, or this is just someone just trying to spray a bunch of passwords and a bunch of emails to hopefully get a login. So yeah, VAPI just says we don't seem to have the credentials for this. How do we log in? How do we log in? There's something in the resource folder given to you. Okay, so back to your terminal, okay, where you have installed VAPI. Okay, well, we get cloned and then we have it here. So we're gonna enter our resource, okay, hopefully, can you guys see, or is it too small? Yeah, can you guys see? Okay.
Yeah, we can see. It's very clear.
It is very
All
limited.
right. So yeah, so within you're gonna enter the resource folder where you're gonna see API 2 credential surfing. So API 2 credential surfing, and then we can see this cred.csv. Okay. So if you have a look at cred.csv, we can see the emails are split into the emails are on the left side and the passwords are on the right side. So we want to basically break this into two files, one containing the emails and the other containing the passwords. Okay. So you can do this in a variety of ways. I've just made a small command just to make things easy for everyone. So what this basically does is it checks the first part of the of creds.csv just before the comma sign, and it picks it out and it saves that as the emails. The second part, it picks out the second section after the comma from creds.csv. So I'm just gonna copy and just share this command in the chat. Okay. So that's the command we're gonna be using to split this into two files. So enter, and then if you type ls again, you should see emails and pass.txt. So if you check emails, you should only see our emails there, and if you check passwords, you can see a list of passwords here. So yeah, let's say, so next up is actually how do we brute force this, but not using manually, because I can't imagine copying and pasting or typing and then logging in. No, that's too much work. We have tools for that. So back into Postman, we're gonna go to user login. Okay, where you see user login, we're just gonna go to key. Okay, so in our body here, we can see email, password over here. So we're just gonna do something basic. Test.gmail.com, password here 12345. Okay, send this over. Of course, it's false, it's incorrect, but we're gonna take this to Barbsuit, okay? Because we're not gonna use Postman to attempt using all the emails and passwords from the files. So we're gonna use Barbsuit because it makes things very easy. So in Barbsuit, where you see the request for user login with the email and the password, you wanna click this three little box thing, like three little stripes over here, and you're gonna take this to intruder. Or you can simply press Control I and it will take you straight to intruder. Take your request straight to intruder. And we're gonna select our email and I click add. Then we're gonna see password. We're gonna click add again, and yeah. So from there we can go back to payloads. We're gonna load the payloads. So first off, the attack we're gonna be using for this is gonna be called a pitchfork attack, or you can use pitchfork, or you can use a cluster bomb. In my case, we'll be using pitchfork for this. Is it pitchfork? Yeah, hope. Yeah. So we're gonna basically just go to where we set up our emails.txt and our path.txt. So emails.txt, I'm just gonna move this to our temp directory and then path to temp directory again. So yeah, first section here, we're just gonna use emails. Second section over here, we're gonna use path.txt. Okay, then we're gonna start the attack. And we can see here it's attempting, if you look closely, if you look at a single request, we can see here it is attempting to log in using the passwords and the emails we set out. And you can also tell that it is trying to payload encode our request, which we don't want it to do that. So we're gonna just, while you see payload encoding, we're just gonna uncheck this because we don't want them to encode our payloads and basically essentially changing the email and the password. So we're gonna start the attack again. Okay, and yeah, we'll go look at now. If you have a look at the, oops, I forgot to turn off also for the first one. Turn off also for the first payload set. So start attack. Okay, if you now look at the request, yes, the email is correct, password is correct, and it will continue going to iterate through all our emails and password until it gets a valid a valid a valid credentials to log in. So yeah, we're just gonna let this run until we get our valid credentials. So how you can check whether it's valid or not? If you check, so there's many ways you can see whether your credentials are valid or not. The one of the easiest ways is checking like the status code. For this case, for 401, basically unauthorized. Of course, that may basically it just shows that it was invalid. The other way you can check whether it was valid or invalid is through the content length. So if you look at the response here, we can see here um, user or password incorrect, and you can see for all of them they share the same error. So on the right side where you can see length here, a change or a difference or a unique content length can identify a successful login or a successful expert or successful request. So you just have to look for things which are out of place. And yeah, so yeah, this will continue running here, and eventually it will find some valid credentials which you can use. Yeah. So, so okay, there we go. Found one. We can see that. Okay, let me just show you guys. Pause this attack. So if you come here, yeah, if we change the content length, we now show based off the content length. We can see here this unique request is different from the rest of this request that we made. Because the content length here is 310, the rest are 288. And you can also see that the status code is 200, showing a successful login, and we're given a token. Yay! So now next thing is how are we going to use this token for? So we can get the user details by using the auth token. Just think about it like it's just basically a cookie or a way for any system to be able to identify a particular user, but without using hard-coded passwords and emails. So back to Postman, we can see whether we're able to get the details of a particular user. If we come in authorization, we're gonna use basically, okay, let's first log in through here. Since we have valid credentials, intruder, go back to request. We're gonna copy the email and the password. Email, password, okay, send the request, got the token, and then from get details, we can send the request again, and we are able to basically get all the information for other users. So you can see here flag. So yeah, how this will actually be mitigated is through uses of like rate limiting. Okay, we have captures. Things basically that just does not allow an attacker to basically manipulate the authentication functionality to test out multiple emails and passwords. Before kindly zoom in. For which section? This section for Postman or the section for Babsuit? Okay. So yeah, basically just authorization token. Using the token we basically got from logging in, and you're able to get the details for this particular user. Okay, okay. So yeah, so that is the first. So that is for the second vulnerability, which is broken authentication. So we are going to our next vulnerability. This one is quite the easiest ways you can actually get a vulnerability. One of your easiest methods to um, get any vulnerability. So this one's called excessive data exposure. How it basically works is when you send a request, the type of response you get is just a lot more than you need to know. For instance, if you sign up and then you let's say for instance you forget password and you put in an email address, then you send that request and then it shows you the OTP or the email date of birth of the particular user you're trying to forgotten. Such just excessive data shown in the response is just gonna it's a vulnerability. You just need to show what you need to show for the application to work. Don't give away too much information. Yeah, so but for API 3, we require to install an Android application in the resource folder, and then we'll be able to test this out. Due to time, setting up an Android lab, plus also setting it up with Burpsuit, it is a long process. If anyone has tried setting up Burpsuit into, let's say, Genymotion or Android Studio, they understand like it's quite a process to set that up. But the other thing you can use is HTTP toolkit. It's also a very easy way to just set up a way to intercept traffic through Android applications. So yeah, we're not gonna go into this because it requires an Android application. So we're gonna skip to API 4. Yeah. So API 4 is basically where I talked about it in API 2, where we could actually test out a large amount of usernames and passwords to log in. So in this sense, we're gonna try. So we believe OTPs are good to authenticate users and secure too if implemented correctly. So we're gonna test this out. Okay. So back to Postman. We're gonna go to API 4, mobile login, and we're gonna go to body. So you can just put in any mobile number. You don't have to actually put valid credentials. So yeah, so basically seeing here a 4-digit OTP has been sent to the mobile number, and yeah, it's looking for. So yeah, it's a 4 digits. See, 4 digits OTP. Now, if we're to check and think about like how many possibilities are there for 4 digits OTP? Like the maximum value is 9999 and the minimum value is 0000. That's about 10,000 or 19, yeah, just 10,000 possible combinations. If we find it that the API is not able to limit how much requests we can make to the API, then we're able to um, we're able to utilize this to advantage to test out all those 10,000 possibilities for the OTP without the API stopping us from. So this also does not just bring about lack of resources and rate limiting. It also can bring other attacks like a DDoS attack, because if there's no limit to how much resources you can request for, then definitely you can continuously send requests, and everything will be valid. So here we're gonna try verify just a random OTP. We're gonna send this, and back in Burpsuit, if we look at the request, we're gonna do something similar as we did in in API 2 when we try the multiple passes. But this time we're gonna try it with numbers only. So we can just send this to intruder. So once you intruder from there, you just wanna go here. So we're gonna select this, then just click add. So click add, and then for payloads, so this is where you're gonna have to, this is where it's gonna differ. So within payloads, we're gonna go to payload type, and we're going to click numbers. So we're gonna click from 0 to 9999. Okay. So the minimum integer digits we're gonna go for is 4. Okay. And yeah, so 10,000 payloads for this. And so this is where you can actually change the resource pool. So for this case, you can set even our maximum concurrent request to, let's say, 100. And yeah, just start the attack, and you'll see 100 requests being made at a time, each attempting a different OTP. So yeah, so we're gonna have to let this run. So yeah, this will take some time to run and finish. So essentially, if you look at the latest successful request, you can see here that it's still allowing us to continuously attempt as many times as you want. So eventually we're gonna find the OTP. So we're gonna let that run just for a few seconds, and then we should have some results. Meanwhile, guys, by the way, feel free to ask any questions or stop me from going too fast or some concepts is a bit off. But yeah. So yeah, that is for API 4. So we're gonna just basically verify the OTP until we get like a valid OTP, then we can now access the user's detail. So for our second last vulnerability we're going to be testing out is broken function level authorization. Basically, you can register yourself as a user, but let's say you have things like roles, like let's say if you can the different roles in the system. For instance, let's say there are normal users, there's a developer users, there's a super admin users, there's a management users. So what will happen whether if we can, without any authorization, directly, like without any authorization, we're able to now be able to act as a different user. Okay, let me give you an example. Okay, so so let me check if we found valid credentials here. So we just check the length to check if there's anything interesting. You can see it's still not found. So yeah, this is still running here. Okay. So yeah, still running. We're gonna just, okay, there we go. So we can see here, we can even stop the attack. So for API 4, OTP was verified because we can see it has a different content length, and it was also 2-0 successful. So here we can see we got a key, and we can use this key, for instance, or go back to Postman. So when you're in Postman, you just simply just put the same OTP 81872. 1872. Send the request over, successful, and back when you go to get details, just send, and yeah, we're able to log in as John. So yeah, that is rate limiting for you. So back to API for broken function level authorization. Let's first create a basic user. Okay, you just go to body, so test user. I'm gonna call this jam2. So jam is testing. Let's go to your password. Name. master, master jam. Okay, address, jam city, mobile number, can be anything. So send it. So yeah, we've created our user. Okay. So now we go back to get details, and we can be able to see uh, we're able to uh, get details. So send a request. We're able to get this user's particular details. So back to the API, where you see get user. So what will happen whether we don't put any particular ID, for instance, just blank. Okay, send this. Okay, and you just want to open Burp so to have like a better idea of what exactly is happening in the background. Okay, so get user. Okay, and then we're just gonna send this to repeater. Sorry for that. I needed to reply to something. Yes, so back here in Barbsuit, if you send a get request, okay, we're able to get jam2's information. But what if we're able to manipulate this in a way that, let's say, users for this case, and we're able to get like all the users for this particular API. So all basically we're just trying to understand what exactly is the function of this API endpoint. It retrieves use information about all the users. Okay. Now, what to happen if we don't want to retrieve like for information just for a particular user, but rather every user's? Then a good function for this would probably be users, where you just pick out all the users for this particular API, because users just for plural, and can even sometimes it can even be admins or people or emails, any identifier for a particular function can just show you like a different function of this particular API. So in this case, it was users, where it was able to pick out everyone's username, name, address, mobile number. So why exactly is this a vulnerability? If you had, let's say, for instance, yeah, back to Safaricom, the Safaricom example. If you're able to go through your Safaricom API and you're able to pick out everyone's in personal information, then and it shows up in the response, then it will be quite hectic for everyone's information to be exposed. So it's quite critical for developers to ensure that there's proper authentication within every endpoint. Unless, yeah. So yeah, we got admin login in this case, and we're able to see the flag. Yeah, and so that is for broken function level authorization. Another good way you'll be able to, let's say, find like um, other functions for um, APIs is looking at the source code. At times, in this case, we don't really have the source code. Maybe if you look at the HTTP request here, you'll probably just look through the source code, and you'll just want to look for things that like pop up. Like for instance, here when you search emails, yeah, when you search for emails, we're able to see different names, description, property, external docs. So just go back down, let's try to see whether we can find anything more. Let's say email tag. And we're just basically trying to find other endpoints within the application. So So in this case, we just look for email. Oh, okay. Okay, you can see here, you can actually get an idea of the different endpoints. So you can see here VAPI. So let's do a VAPI. Let's for ours is 5. So just gonna look for that endpoint. Okay, we can see user app ID. Okay. Yeah, so this is just one way to find other endpoints other than guessing. Let's say you can't really find or guess, or you've outguessed, then the source code is really a good way to find information about the endpoint. And yeah, so that is it with API 5. And for our last, okay, let me see here. Postman versus Bobsuit. I'm familiar with Bobsuit. So yeah, we'll get into that like at the end. Postman. All right. Yeah. So we'll get into the last, the final vulnerability. This will talk about mass assignment. So here we see a small thing from VAPI. Welcome to our store. We will give you credits if you behave nicely. Our credit management is super secure. So this vulnerability is actually quite risky as it exposes a business flaw, such as like buying a ticket or posting a comment without compensating for or how the function could harm the businesses if used excessively in an automated manner. For instance, let's say like if you had like an Instagram, okay, just think about it like if you had a store or a web, an e-commerce site, yes. As a developer, you want to put in some function like let's say for commenting or buying a ticket or liking, and let's say your API is exposed and there's no limits to how much requests you can make towards the API to create a comment. So one random customer can just come and he has malicious thoughts, and he can just spam your comment sections in your website with hates or just spam just a lot of random comments. And if you're, let's say, you're just a normal customer, you want to just check on a particular product, and then you just randomly just see um, half a rating out of 5 on your website, just because someone found the API and they're able to change the rating because there's no limit to, or there's a fault, like the way it was implemented was faulty. So, yeah. So I think so in this case, yeah. So yeah, it's really you can't really. So in this case, this is just API. A better place where to demonstrate this would probably be in Juice Shop, where Juice Shop is actually like a commerce store, and yeah, so there's not really a good way to demonstrate this into like the website on the vulnerable API system. So in this case, we'll just probably we'll probably just skip to API 7, which is quite good, which is talking about security misconfiguration. And yeah, so basically here when you're just expecting like a cross-origin request and you're able to make a request to someone else. Let me give you guys an example. So for instance, let's say, I don't know if I can demonstrate this here. Yeah, so let me see how we can use a login, get key, log out. Okay, let me see in Postman. Okay, API 7. Okay, body. Let's see how we can. So yeah, basically just how this is it possible to intercept a hacked social media account, example, Facebook account? Intercept I'm not quite getting. So Babsuit, the way Babsuit works, it just intercepts requests from your browser to to the web server. For example, in this case, our web server is localhost, and it can only intercept my requests, not anyone else's request. So, for instance, if let's say I go to let's say google.com, I need to only intercept my particular request, and then here if I just do let's say test, then I come here intercept on, then just send this off. Then we can see here test, and then we can just say Africa hack on here for the. So it just basically allows you to see requests. Oops. What's this? Oh my god. Okay. Verify. Okay, that was wrong. Fire hydrant. Yeah, so yeah, it just basically allows you to manipulate requests on your particular browser or device, or yeah. So yes, so no, it's not possible to intercept a hacked social media accounts using Babsuit in the context you're saying it as. Yeah. So yeah, guys, that is it with the time frame we're given. That is it for the VAPI and the top five vulnerabilities. So in this case, we've been able to cover broken object level authorization, broken user authentication, excessive data exposure we weren't able to recover due to um, it requiring you setting up an Android application, Android lab, and intercepting the request from the Android application to, yeah, in that case, it will take too much time. We need to consider FRIDA, SSL signing, and it takes a bunch of time just setting up the Android labs. So we skipped API 3. We're able to also
Sure.
cover, yeah,
No, no, I'll just agree with you.
yeah. Also, you're also able to cover API 4, which is lack of resources and rate limiting. And also broken function level authorization. So the rest is mass assignment. For that one, I would really recommend trying it out using Juice Shop, as it's more of allowing users to, let's say, exploit a function, let's say, to create a comment, and if there's no limit to that, then it can be a really big issue for the business, especially. Then you have security misconfiguration, injection, improper asset management, and insufficient login monitoring. All that you guys can try, check out, and play around with it. If there's any questions, or you get lost, or you really need help in a particular section, you can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, or my WhatsApp. So yeah, that is it. And if you guys have any questions, comments, please feel free. Feel free.
Okay, I think we can get a few. If we can see a question, maybe. I'm going to ignore the Facebook social media hack account. That's not something we want to encourage here. Otherwise, I think we'll run this again, another session sometime in the future. We can keep the lookout for it. Any questions? All right. Thank you so much, Mike, for your time, and looking forward to more sessions with you in the future.
Yeah,
Thank you.
much. Thank you for having me. Thank you, guys. Yeah.